festivals around the globe serve as a vital platform for uniting cinephiles and industry professionals, fostering cinematic innovation and collaboration. Yet, as attendees, we often remain unaware of the complex efforts behind organizing these grand events. To provide us with an insider's perspective, we are privileged to host an exceptional panel today, featuring representatives from some of the world's most renowned film festivals. With a warm round of applause, let's welcome on stage renowned filmmaker and actor, Festival Director of the 55th edition of the International Film Festival of India, and a moderator for this session, Mr. Shekhar Kapoor. Let us now welcome film critic, festival programmer, and the CEO of Toronto International Film Festival, Mr. Cameron Bailey. Up next, we have a prolific writer, curator, and film festival programmer, the artistic director of the Locarno Film Festival, Mr. Jonna Nazzaro. Finally, a creative producer, film programmer, event manager, and the festival producer of Edinburgh International Film Festival, Ms. Emma Boa. May I now request Srimati Nirja Shekhar Ma'am, Special Secretary, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, to please come and felicitate our celebrated speakers and moderator. Thank you, ma'am, for joining with the felicitation. And now, over to Mr. Shekhar Kapoor with a gracious request to please commence the session.
Hello. Oh, great. I like my voice. Thank you. I know Cameron has a hard out. He has a flight to catch, so let's start with you. Let's get to the basics. Cameron, you run one of the world's most prolific film festivals, and Cameron is one of the greatest supporters of Indian cinema in Toronto. Do you think that the world's narratives, because you're so close to North America, and because all the Americans want to go there, because then they don't have to travel to Cannes or something, but not that you don't run a great festival, that too. Do you think the world's narratives need to change? Do you think that it's too Western, the narratives that we are currently in the world?
It's a big question. And
important one.
Yes, and a very important one. I think how we think about the narratives that we see on our screens really depends on what lens you're looking through, what your perspective, what your vantage point is. Toronto has the advantage of being a very cosmopolitan city. Wasn't always, was a very kind of cold colonial city for many years, but from the 1970s onward, we started in 1976, migration changed Toronto quite a lot. Now, half the people in our city were born outside of Canada. And so our vantage point is actually already quite global because you've got people from almost 200 different countries in Toronto. That's our audience in Toronto. And so while we're right next door to Hollywood and the biggest film industry in North America and one of the most dominant ones in the world, our audience wants to see Indian films, Korean films, Southeast Asian films, European films, Latin American films, African films. So we try to bring that to our audience every year. Of course, when you've got giant Hollywood stars, or in some cases giant Indian stars coming, they take a lot of that energy and they really just sort of draw that attention. But we are, by definition, an international film festival, and we're in an international city, and that's really what matters.
You didn't answer my question. Do you think that the word narrative needs to change? It's too Western.
I think the narratives are already global. I just think you have to make that choice, and that's what we try to do as a festival.
He's clever. Okay. Siano, I think everybody knows when Shah Rukh Khan came to your festival, the city went mad. Shah Rukh Khan is a big star at your festival?
This is a huge question, almost as huge as Shah Rukh Khan himself. Shah Rukh Khan has been a long time dream, personal dream, for it to come true. And since I discovered Ashoka in Venice Film Festival, and then later on I saw again Devdas in the Cannes Film Festival, and what struck me was that the basic emotions of those two films were quite close to classic Italian cinema from the 50s and 60s. So even though I didn't know anything of the traditional Indian history those films referenced, I emotionally felt very close to it because it felt like films that could have been made by Vittorio Cottafavi or Riccardo Freda. And since then I thought, this is huge. But obviously it wasn't easy. So to answer your question straight, Shah Rukh Khan is not a big star. He's the biggest star that ever came to Locarno, and is also the most respectful and talented person that I was ever graced to meet. He was kind to everyone at the festival. He never behaved as the superstar that he is, and he could have. And he's been kind to everyone, respectful, and it's been a terrific experience because it basically remembered all of us that you can be the biggest star in the world and still be the best human being in the world. The two things are not opposite, and usually we have this separation.
Who's not a fan of Shah Rukh Khan here? One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I wait long enough, all the hands will go up. What are you guys talking about? Stop it. Okay. Emma, Edinburgh probably is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And I've gone to Edinburgh very often, but for the Fringe Festival. Now, why is the film festival also not part of a Fringe Festival, or why is the Fringe Festival also not part of the film festival? Or, yeah, no, either way.
Well, that's an interesting question. So Edinburgh International Film Festival is the longest continually running film festival in the world, and actually was inaugurated in 1947 at the same time as the Fringe and the Edinburgh International Festival.
You need to speak a little louder there.
Is this working?
Can everybody hear, Emma? Okay, great.
Can you hear? That's better? I'll start that again. So Edinburgh International Film Festival is the world's longest continually running film festival at 77 years old. It was inaugurated in 1947 at the same time as the Edinburgh International Festival and the Fringe in the wake of the war. And actually, Edinburgh International Film Festival has we relaunched the festival this year after the parent company for the film festival and Filmhouse Cinema in Edinburgh went into administration in October 2021. So we are now a completely brand new entity with a new board, new festival director, Paul Ridd, and a new strategy for the festival, which is to embed itself functionally and meaningfully within the Fringe and the wider cultural offering that takes place in Edinburgh in August every year. So by virtue of that, we've established new partnerships with the Fringe. All of our ticketing for the festival this year ran through the Fringe box office. So people were able to buy tickets through the Fringe website and Fringe app. One of the core aims of the festival is to attract new audiences to independent film. So many international audiences are obviously coming into Edinburgh at that time. Many people who are interested in film, but also people who are just interested in art and culture. So making our program more discoverable to them and encouraging people who may be interested in taking risks and going to see something new that may not have that kind of broader commercial appeal. This is a big part of what it is that we're doing with the new festival. And also with our industry program is leaning into, because so many filmmakers and artists are working across art forms, and that kind of cross-arts collaboration and cross-pollination is something that we're very interested in honouring and facilitating opportunities for industry and creatives to benefit from networking with each other.
Okay, one question for all of us, actually, of everybody here. I assume everybody's a film fan. With increasing technology, less and less people are watching stories through film, and they're expressing themselves through short videos, 30 seconds, TikToks, not even OTT, not even. So only 10% of this world's population is watching cinema as we know it. Do we have a responsibility to protect cinema? Or do we say, as film festival directors, it's fine, whichever way audiences want to tell stories, let us embrace that and go with it. So, Cameron.
My feeling is that stories are more powerful than any single technology. Stories have been around since human beings have been around, and the technology will always change. You know, I love cinema. For me, the most powerful thing about cinema is that it's watched together. And when you gather together, everything is amplified. The emotion, the reaction, what you take home with you afterwards in terms of like what stays with you. I think when you see films together, that's just bigger. In my view, it lasts longer than something you may watch in a glancing way on your phone. But I don't think we can hide from what technology has done to screen storytelling. Screen storytelling is incredibly powerful. I think people are watching more on screens than they ever have, whether it's home viewing or on their laptop or on their mobile phone or in the cinema. But the collective power is something that I think does need to be protected.
Jenna.
This is a huge question. And in a way, it relates also to your previous question about, is this too much a Western narrative? So technology is strictly tied to cinema because cinema is a technology-oriented art form. It was born with photography, and then it developed to moving images and to sound. And so cinema is inherently a technological art form. I was reading a text by Griffith that he wrote in 1924. The question was to him, what do you think of cinema in 2024? And it is a scary text because the man had seen in the future and he had imagined that we would watch films differently. So the problem with technology is that it can hijack what we need, what we want. So nowadays, it begins with language. We don't refer to films as films anymore. We speak of content. This is a scary word because it feels like something that you put in a box, and then when the box is full, you move on. Films are not content. Films are art. And I'm saying this because there are out there film people that want still to make their first short film, their first film, and they need to defend the idea that what they have to say could be art, could be art. So I'm not against technology. The thing is that technology wants to reshape the way we collectively experience our time. So people can watch 8 hours of a TV series on the phone, but they are unwilling to watch a 2 hours film in a cinema because it's too long. So this is not something that comes from them. This is a collective discourse that has been put on what the audiences would want. So I think that the audience as such needs to protect itself from what the industry or the industries want to put on them. I know this sounds very much like political discourse, but it's not. in terms of Indian cinema, over the years, Locarno has always been championing Indian independent cinema, young cinema. This year we had also in the jury Payal Kapadia. We had previous years a film, Declaration. We had Dominic Sangma's first film, and so on. And these films, they need to exist. So I was extremely happy when Dominic's film was released in France and in other countries. So what I'm saying is, it's not about technology, it's what you do with technology. It's like saying, if I invent the wheel, I could get a car that would run over someone. It's how you use the wheel. So it's really, and this is really crucial. This is really crucial, because otherwise we end up in these polarizing conversations where something is bad or something is good, which doesn't take the conversation much further.
Okay. You can applaud, it's fine, don't be shy. Okay. Emma.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the technology itself is not the enemy, and again, it's how it is used and how it can be used to amplify what the art that is being created and then being presented to audiences. And it's I think the responsibility of film festivals as well to lean into the technological changes that are always going to be a part of society. And obviously we see what we have seen in across the pandemic when everything moved online, that there isn't really a replacement for that collective experience that that cinema offers to audiences. So this was something we thought might happen when we were in the throes of the pandemic, and what we've seen coming out of that is that there is still an appetite for people to come together in a physical space to watch films together and to meet the filmmakers in person and to hear from them directly, and having that really direct experience is something that can't be replaced. And well, we've seen, I think, changes in audience behavior, and obviously there is much more, and I hate the word content also as well, and we try to avoid using it at all costs, but for audiences to watch films and TV shows and any kind of moving image content on their phones or other devices that are not consistent with cinema itself, but that's there's still a way for us to ensure that films can be presented in the way that we know that we enjoy watching them, and we know that there is a benefit to presenting them in that way.
Just a show of hands, how many people feel that cinema needs to be protected? Am I at a film festival? All right, okay, sorry.
Can I just add one more thing? In addition to the fact that cinema is a technology and it has that collective power, one thing that I'm always so impressed by is movies are bigger than us as individuals, right? And that's not an accident. And that's a part of the power of cinema as well, is that you go to the movie theater, the screen is way bigger, the characters are bigger, the sound is bigger, it's immersive. That's a part of the cinema experience as well. It's why people like to go to big concerts or big football matches or cricket matches. I think we crave experiences that connect us to something larger than ourselves. And so long as cinema maintains that power, it doesn't have to mean spectacle films, it just means an emotional experience that's larger than you as an individual, then I think cinema will have its power.
Yeah, okay. A quick question on how do you select films? Now, there's a big thing right now. India did not select Payal Kabadia's film, All We Imagine is Light, for the Oscars. Now, there was a whole committee sitting there, and they said, no, this is not the film we select. They selected another really good film. It's an opinion. The world over, everybody's saying that it's one of the best Indian films to come out in decades, Payal's film, All We Imagine is Light. But how do you decide, how does one person, one committee decide that this is, because you've said cinema is for a larger audience, for people in general, like so many people, how do individuals decide what's good, what's bad? Where does that creative decision, how does it get made? Thankfully, I'm not in that stage, but you guys are.
Who wants to take that one up?
Okay, sorry.
Why are you looking at me? No, I can, if I were a car builder, someone who makes car, I could say, you make a car like this. This is the way you do it. Then someone else could come and say, no, we do it like this because this way. So what I'm saying is, it's very difficult. I mean, I've studied cinema. I never wanted to be a filmmaker, never. And I'm saying this because usually they say film critics are failed filmmakers. Well, I'm the exception. I never wanted to be a filmmaker.
I'm a film director. I'm a failed actor.
And the thing is, I started actually as a film critic, and then people noticed what I was writing, and they invited me to work in a selection committee. So you try to put what your ideas are in selecting those films. But as you go along, you realize that cinema is way more complex. And I'm saying this because, again, it's not rocket science. But it's also not very personal. And when I was in Venice, it was easier because I had to choose for the Critics' Week, 11 films for 11 days. And it was very deliberate what you could do within that context, because it felt like you would add some touches of color on a way broader canvas. In Locarno, I immediately understood that I had to broaden my perception. And therefore, I started working with a team of people. But deliberately, I chose people that would not think like I do. And I knew it would be difficult and even painful, but it's a group of people that I deeply cherish and respect, because we think differently on everything. And this is what makes the festival an interesting place, because the selection process is awful. It's very complex. It's very painful. And it's very difficult to remember that we are together to do something, because when you say no to something, it feels almost like personal, but it's not. And then just as a comment to what Cameron was saying, films are very mysterious, because you start watching the films when you have 40 minutes of something, then you have a very rough cut, and then you see an almost finished version, and then you project it the first time in a screening room, and the audience reacts, and then from the festival, the film moves on to a different kind of audience, and the film keeps evolving, transforming. And if you look back at the whole journey, it's almost scary, because it's not the same film, even though it is. So what I'm saying is that we put together all our experiences as film critics, as industry people. One of the reasons I put together in my selection committee, I have a producer, distributor, film programmer, film critic, because it's good to have the different points of views on, and I, especially with the short film selection, which I do not work on, I have someone that is a film distributor, because I wanted that the short films could have a serious opportunity to go on, rather than be the one-trick pony or the one film in your life and that's it. So I'm sure I did not answer to a question, but...
It does?
Just to echo what Gianna says, it is a very difficult process, very complicated.
Do you have a team?
We do, yeah. So we work with a team of programmers so we run open submissions, which for next year's festival will open at the start of January. But we also, obviously, through our networks and through our, attending festivals and our own personal networks as well, are seeking films and bringing them into the pool for consideration. But again, just speaking to what Gianna was saying about having a multiplicity of perspectives and experience as well that form part of our programming team, so that we are, as you were saying, it's a very mysterious and personal experience when you're engaging with a work of art. And often we find, when we're speaking to filmmakers, what we have seen in a film or what we have experienced through watching that film can differ somewhat from maybe what was even intended by the artists themselves. But we take, a diversity of perspectives and lenses, I think, into account when we're looking at the work, and then it's a case of discussing and I mean, a film festival program itself is a bit of a jigsaw puzzle, and it is curated, so it does mean we have to make some very difficult decisions, and turning down work that is of a very high standard, very good, but it maybe hasn't fit into the kind of wider festival puzzle that we're putting together. So it's a multifaceted, complex process that takes a lot of care and thought and deep consideration to do it the way that it needs to be done.
Just a personal question. Do you get pressure from the Scottish independence movement to have their point of view in their films, in your films?
Well, I mean, what we do is we're providing a platform for a conversation, for discussion, so that in a way there is no right or wrong way of looking at a piece of art. It's really...
Can you say that again to the audience? Please say that. Just that one sentence. I want everybody to hear that, what you just said.
Just that there is no right or wrong way, I think, of looking at a piece of art. I think it's...
That's absolutely right, yes. Yeah. Just because I know that Cameron might suddenly get up and say, I have to go, I'm going to open it up to questions, and then we'll come back to it. No, wait. Please keep your questions to one sentence. I want to know everybody's life history, but not here. One question, one sentence per question. Comment, okay. One comment, one sentence for one comment. Let's go. So, yeah. Okay, come on, let's hear you. You're the most vociferous. Yeah. There are mics. Do we have mics? Yeah, we've got to be... Cameron will leave you soon, right? Yes.
Can you hear?
Yes, we can, yeah.
Can you hear?
No,
Oh,
we
okay.
can hear. Don't worry
Sir,
about them.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir. 1.5 minutes, you can count. World cinema is suffering from cancer. So for the past 10 years, there are no good films, and only Korean and Chinese and Japanese, Iranian films are keeping their quality, and all the Oscar best films are worst films since 2 years. They're half-baked serial and half-baked documentaries.
Thank you, we get it. Do you want to take that?
I would disagree.
Yep, fine, that's a good answer. Anybody else? Yeah.
So my questions to all four of you. As a filmmaker who's starting out and who's making a short film, what is the one piece of advice you would want to give to keep in mind if we want to send our films to film festivals like yours?
Yeah.
I'd say just a couple of things briefly. If you're starting out and you're making short films, I think the most important thing is to make a film that you truly believe in and that expresses, through the form of cinema, something that is true to you. You won't always have that opportunity. Films become more and more expensive as you go. They involve a lot more people, so hold on to your own vision. Make sure you have a vision as a filmmaker. You have to know what you want to express in cinema. Understand that there are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of short films made every year, so try to find something that is unique about your expression in film. And if it is unique enough and if it's well expressed enough, then it will stand out.
Okay, guys, you better go quickly. Pass the mics quickly, otherwise. Yeah, there's a gentleman there, right there. Okay.
So my question is that compared to old films, they were simple, but now films are more complex. Why?
I'm going to answer that. I don't know what you mean by old films. Depends on your age. What are old films to you?
No, like, when I say old films, like in 90s and 80s, like anyone can watch that movie and anyone can understand it, even if he's not literate as much. But today people are more literate, but the movies are more complex. Why?
That's a judgment. Did you like Shami Kapoor?
No.
Okay. Did you like Devanand?
Yes.
Did you like Dilip Kumar?
Yes.
Well, that's a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I get it. It's your age that's talking. Okay. Anybody else? Haji. Okay, while you're waiting.
सर यहाँ है सर सर आपने कल फेस्टिवल में बताया था कि आप फिल्म सच्चाई पर बनाएं आपकी फिल्म सच्चाई पर बैंडिट क्वीन थी बहुत बहुत अच्छी बढ़िया फिल्म थी अब मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है आपने एलिजाबेथ में बनाई थी और जिसमें ऑस्कर और भी मिला था उसकी सच्चाई क्या थी सर
The question is, you said yesterday that films have to have some kind of truth. Bandit Queen has truth. What is the truth of Elizabeth? Elizabeth, very honestly, I start every film with one sentence, if I can, otherwise I get a great script, I'll make it anyway. Is why do women need to lose their feminine qualities in order to have power over men? Why do men not have to become feminine? That was a big thing that's what we followed through the film, the whole idea. And there were a lot of things that were not historically correct, but they were philosophically correct. Okay, next. Yeah.
This is a great session. I just have an answer to that gentleman over there. So, sir, I have here, IFI has programmed our film called Paper Flowers, which is based on an inspirational cancer story, which will be screened tomorrow and day after. I invite you to come there.
Okay, guys, we can have this discussion separately. Okay.
Since I have the
Yes.
mic.
Yes, down here. Thank you. Yeah. Can you give the lady a mic here, please? Oh, Cameron's still here. Come on, guys, take advantage of that.
Can I quickly ask a question since I have a mic, sir? Excuse me.
So I have the mic.
No, I said the lady here. Yeah.
Hi, thank you so much indeed for this session. When we're talking about films and the power of seeing them in community on the big screen, larger than life, of course it's the very few privileged who are able to access the film festivals. I know in the case of Cameron's Festival, TIFF, they take the best of the films and they bring them to remote areas across Canada, correct? And that's so important for us to realize that it's the privileged who can come here to Ifigoa and enjoy the film, the people who can take the time off work and travel. And it's exciting to see the audience who make that effort. And it's the same in Toronto, but not everybody can. And Canada's vast, all these countries are
Sorry, is that a comment or a question?
The question is keeping that in mind, because when we're talking about, nobody wants to see people watching film on their little devices. They want them to go out and see them larger than life. How do we deal with the fact that those festivals are limited to those who can make it there?
Yeah.
The other question I'd like to follow up with what you were asking before about the...
So let's take one question, because there are other people asking questions. We'll come back to you. Okay. Yeah, anybody?
I'll just start by saying the dissemination of films broadly is a big part of why festivals need to still exist. And that can be done in many different ways. The first thing we do is we raise awareness for films that maybe are more artistically ambitious than the commercial mainstream, and hopefully through reviews and audience members telling each other their own circles about the films that they really enjoyed at a festival, they will be seen more widely. In 2026, TIFF will be starting a market in Toronto as well to hope to get films into distribution around the world, because there is that long chain of an economy that goes from festivals into films that eventually turn up on your mobile device all over the world. But we need to feed that, and we need to make sure that it's not just the most kind of obvious commercial product that goes into that pipeline, but that the films of higher artistic ambition are also disseminated around the world.
I think this goes again also to the question of how we do select films. The thing is, why do we need to believe in cinema? Because when Locarno announces a program of the competition, I mean, there are always a couple of names that are completely new. And obviously we believe in those names, we believe in those films, and usually those films manage to have a huge afterlife after the Locarno Film Festival. And this is what it is about, is to put out there people that have something to say. For instance, if we know something about what girls think in a place like Vilnius in Lithuania, it's because a young woman, Shaule Bliuvaitė, made a film called Toxic. No one had ever heard about her before. Now she's won 2 awards in Locarno. She's been traveling the world with that film. And she manages to engage meaningful conversations with audiences all over the world. So we understand that the specific reality from which she moved was not how they say usually, this is a national film. No, this is a film. And every audience is a part of our collective environment, society, that can engage a meaningful conversation with that piece of art. So this is what is important, is to keep conversation outside the boundaries of the so-called mainstream conversation, because all these limitations are ultimately damping the efforts that we put in having meaningful films out there. So I see the work of the Locarno Film Festival specifically in this, in trying to highlight as much as possible talents that could engage in deep conversations with audiences worldwide.
Emma.
Exactly that from our perspective as well, that we see ourselves as a launch pad for new exciting work that will be brought to audiences for the first time, and then will hopefully go on to long and fruitful journeys across the festival circuit, and then hopefully into wider distribution as well. The festival this year, we launched our inaugural 2 awards, the Sean Connery Prize for Feature Filmmaking Excellence, which carries a cash prize of £50,000 that was supported by the Sean Connery Foundation, that goes directly to the filmmaker. Our winning film this year was The Ceremony by Jack King, a low-budget UK feature, which the budget for the film itself was about £50,000, so they made their full budget back by winning the prize, and they've now been nominated for 3 awards at the British Independent Film Awards. So we're seeing already a lot of great traction for this film, and hoping that it will go on and reach even more audiences partly through the profile that we've been able to offer that film. So again, this is where we see our role coming into really helping exciting new independent film connect with audiences.
How many of you are filmmakers here sitting? How many of you have made a film? It doesn't matter. 15 short films, well done. How many of you are trying to get into film festivals? How many of you have not managed to get into film festivals? Okay, well, you better leave fast.
I mean, more have gotten into festivals and haven't, so that's encouraging.
That's great. Yes, one more question. You already had your turn, didn't you? Okay. Question
Hi, sorry,
here.
can I ask a question?
Yes,
Hi.
please, go ahead.
Hi, yes, hello, thank you so much for being here. I was just curious, there's obviously a lot of conflicts going on in the world in certain countries, but those countries are still making films and they're still being selected for festivals. How are you navigating that? Are you feeling any pressures to not select films from sort of those countries?
Well, that's an easy question. I believe that the festival, we at Locarno believe that the festival is a free space. So what we cherish there is art, creativity, and freedom to express your mind. Obviously the festival does always reflect the different conflicts that are going on in the world. You cannot shy away or look the other way, but the comfort in being in a festival is that you can address these conflicts without the fear of being hurt or insulted or aggressed, because it is a free space. Free space means access. Obviously, freedom comes also with limitations. In Locarno, we do not welcome conversations or discourse that are insulting other people's identity or dignity. Because if we want to be a part of the conversation that strives for a better world, then we should make an effort in being respectful, inclusive, and understanding. And I know this sounds a bit like patronizing, but believe me, this is a huge effort that we are doing. Also, for instance, in the policies within the festival, that the people that work at the festival do not feel discriminated for their beliefs, their orientation, their identity, their gender, and so on. So we have put also in the workplace of the festival measures in place that everybody can feel safe, welcome, and express his individuality within the context of a body that tries to further the legacy of a festival that has almost 80 years, that's almost 80 years old. So it is an ongoing process, and it does not come with fixed answers that are valid all the time. And obviously there is a comfort in shouting certain code sentences, but if you want to be really engaging in this conversation, then you need to make an effort to listen and sometimes also to accept criticism. And it's not easy because festivals in this time and age have become the catalyzing place, and for a reason, because it's an open space. There are still open spaces. And this is something, your question actually, is something that concerns all of us, from programmers, distributors, sales agents, audiences, casual visitors of festivals, and so on. And it is actually one of the key points on which we will be asked to prove why festival matters, if we succeed or not in keeping festivals as a safe haven for all of us, and not just some. And this goes again to your question, is the narrative too Western? And I believe yes. And it should be opening more, and this is what we have done in Locarno since always. And I'm not trying to promote what we do by answering your question, but in order to have a reason to keep on going, we need to listen more and more carefully.
Yes, one more question. I'm going to come back to Cameron. Cameron, what's wrong with us? Why? I mean, listen, Cameron just came in yesterday, now, and is leaving today. He just came for this one session to be with us, to encourage us. He is really important, as all of you people are important festivals. Now, other than the obvious charms of Shekhar Kapoor, what other reason, why are you here?
I'm here because you were kind enough to invite me, and because this is one of my favorite places in the world, because this is the country that is most immersed in cinema, most passionate about cinema of any country, anywhere. And it's just a delight to be able to talk about movies with almost anyone you meet in India, and especially here in Goa, because you have the advantage of it being gorgeous as well.
Okay. Jian?
Well, I'm here because it's been a long time that I haven't been here in India, and it was high time I would be back. And I still think that I'm amazed by the wealth of films that come out every year, and somehow I think that we are not engaging strongly or deeply enough with what is happening in this part of the world. And I always feel bad when a film from India pops up like RRR, and suddenly everybody seems to know something about this place, but they haven't seen, not even the films of the masters from India. And I feel that we have a lot of catch up to do, a lot of catch up. And I wish the conversation would be stronger, better, especially from our side, because, yeah, so, and I still think that listening and trying to learn is the best way to approach things. And I'm deeply grateful to be here, and I mean that.
Thank you. Emma.
It's a great pleasure to be here and to be part of IFFI and the Film Bazaar. I first came to India. I've been to India several times, my 6th time, I think. My first time was in 2004, and it's an experience that stayed with me. It changed something in me. So to come back here always feels like a returning home in some way. And there's as Cameron says, there's a deep love of film and cinema that really feels so tangible here. You know, in Mumbai, there's just film posters everywhere, and everyone loves and talks about cinema in such a passionate, informed way that it's such a pleasure to be here. And some of the most beautiful films I've ever seen have been Indian, and the best way to really experience a national cinema is to be in the place where it was made. And so to be able to be here and to be amongst filmmakers who are making new and exciting work is a real privilege and honor, and I'm very pleased to be here.
Thank you. We'll take another question. All right. You're sitting right in front, I can see you, so all right. Yeah, can we have a mic here? Quickly. Please make sure. Well, we've tried.
Hi, just
Okay,
a small comment and then my question.
Can you stand up, please?
I'm really grateful for film festivals. It's the reason I'm a filmmaker, especially the ones that you're talking about that are art. But for films like, say, Anne Godeda Dan or Court, which was celebrated in film festivals, they couldn't break even. So my question is, do film festivals have the responsibility of sort of funneling a distribution channel, so where back catalogs can also be sold? Because they're wonderful films, no one gets to see them, you know. That's the
So
question.
the question is, do films have the responsibility of finding a distributor?
No,
do film festivals have a responsibility of finding a distributor? I would say the answer is no.
Funneling distribution channels so that art can actually keep growing and being seen by a lot more people, you know?
Okay. Yeah, well, no. Anybody take that? Come.
The way that we approach it in Toronto is that we do have a responsibility to showcase the films that we invite to the media, to film critics, to audiences, and to people who might buy the films for distribution. We want to get them out to audiences. That's why we're showing them at our festival. I don't think we can do much more than that. The most important thing that I think we all have to do is we have to put down our money to buy tickets to films when they are in commercial release, because that's what fuels more films like the ones we love turning up in commercial release down the line. That's not something any one film goer can do. It's a collective act to actually go out when a film opens, in its first weekend usually is the most important thing, and actually support that film and that filmmaker that you really admire by turning up, buying a ticket, sitting and watching it with an audience. And sometimes if you can bring friends, that's even better. But our job, I think, it's a lot already, is really to get the films out so that they can be seen and can be bought for distribution and ideally shown all over the world.
There is one narrative that needs to be fought. And the thing is that the audience wants always the same thing. It's not true. The thing why we keep on watching the same films is simply because we get offered the same films. So the audience can be creative, just as the filmmaker, in demanding different films to be treated respectfully. This is a right of the audience to say, we don't want this, we want something else. And this is how films live. This is how films live. And Cameron was right when he was saying that films have a different way of existing, because a film can fail today at the box office. In 10 years' time, it is a meaningful film for millions of people in the world, simply because that film managed to go from a university seminar to an independent distributor, to a streaming channel, and then back again to the cinemas. So what we as a collective audience need to do all the time, and there is no vacation from it, is to utilize our critical thinking. This is how you defend your right, our right, to have different films and to be treated respectfully by the people in the industry. If you don't use this critical right to think differently, then they will offer us always the same films. It's easy and difficult as that.
We do, I mean, as a festival, we do work as hard as we can, as Cameron says, to help films reach audiences and beyond the festival itself. We invite press and buyers, industry to attend the festival and to signpost ways for them to engage with the films in our program as well. We also do what we can to work with filmmakers or rights holders as well to maximize any marketing strategy or campaign there may already be in place, or to help implement that. Again, to help connect those films with audiences, and where we can, we support after the festival itself. But this again is what we are as a platform. There's only so much we can do up until a certain point, and then, as Cameron says, really what we need is people to go to the cinema and buy tickets to engage with that work.
I'll tell you an interesting story, Janet, from what you just said. My first film was a film called Masoom. How many of you seen it? Oh my God. Okay, that was 40 years ago. Okay, or 30 maybe, no, okay. What's that? Well done, yeah. But when it released, my first film, nobody went to the theater. We used to have a thing called black marketeers, young guys, kids who used to go and buy up all the tickets, hoping that they'll be able to sell them on the black market because it'll be a popular film. First day, nobody came. Second day, third day, the theaters were empty, and these kids surrounded me and said, "You got to give us our money back." I said, "What do you mean I'm going to give you money back?" But they thought, oh, the film will, get that. Then we lost the theaters. Then on one day, it started to pick up. I have no idea. If that one day in my life had not happened, I would not be sitting here. So what happened? Now, 40 years later, everybody is demanding that I make a sequel to that. For a film that for 5 days nobody went to the theater. So you're right, you never know about films. So everybody said, I made a great film. Oh my God. If Masoom hadn't had that one day, it would be like, remember Shekhar Kapuri made that terrible film that nobody went to see? It's absolutely right. So destiny plays such a large part in our process, and that's why it's such a big business. Okay, question, somebody there.
Check. Yeah, right here. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. And I would like to know, do you find any significant changeover over the years in films in which you have watched in the film festival? Any noticeable change that you find, hey, this is a change that has happened? Especially when it comes to the pacing and rhythm of the film, because a reduction in attention span of human beings is a phenomena. I would like to know whether it has affected filmmakers too in cutting their film.
I'm not sure I heard it entirely.
Just got to. Can somebody understand that question and repeat it? Or
Reduction in attention span has been a phenomena in humans because we watch 15 seconds, 30 seconds. It has been happened. So I would like to know whether it has affected filmmakers in the way that they do their pacing and rhythm of the film. Did you notice that changeover in filmmakers in terms of pacing and rhythm?
It's a problem with the mic. So anybody who's actually got the question can repeat it. Yeah.
I think he is talking about the impact of Instagram Reels and TikTok and all that stuff in the industry on over the films like that.
Hello.
Okay, I need a girl because the male volume is going too high. Can a girl who understands that question ask it?
Actually, I have a question.
Hello.
Here, sir.
I'll translate his question.
This is becoming fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What he's trying to ask is basically the retention period of human mind right now is literally 15 to 20 seconds. So when it comes to feature films and filmmaking, so does that also play an impact while you are placing certain sequences in the film? So,
Okay.
So that is what he's asking.
Are films becoming much more quickly edited than they used to be? That's the question, right? Do you find the pace fast?
I would say yes and no. I mean, if you watch Ziga Vertov from over 100 years ago, you'll find quite fast-paced cutting, so it's not new exactly. And I don't think that film ever goes in one direction. It's not like all of cinema goes in one trend, so you will find, all kinds of things happening simultaneously. Slow cinema happens at the same time as rapid-fire cutting. I have a lot of faith in the attention of audiences. I believe if the film is compelling, it doesn't have to be quickly cut. And I don't think that as a society or as a human species that our attention span is necessarily entirely getting shorter. But there are commercial trends, and we've certainly seen that in commercial cinema in terms of faster cutting. But I think that audiences will have the patience if they are connecting with what they're seeing and hearing.
Well, the question is really interesting because if we go on social media, it's the triumph of the long take. Everybody's using just the long take. There are no cuts in TikTok, and eventually you do that artificially, but it's usually someone speaking to you directly for that. And so it's a bit a contradiction. I mean, you couldn't be doing that in cinema. So I don't think that the attention span is changing. I think that the attention span is there. What Cameron was saying, the commercial pressures are trying to shape our attention span in a certain direction. That is the real issue. But if you see the films that are getting made today or are getting awards, the latest Pedro Almodovar film, it's basically a conversation piece, a wonderful one. I saw it in Toronto and I cried my eyes out. So anyway, so I don't think it's changing that much. The thing that we think that on social media, the content is super cut is because there are short pieces and there are all short, long takes. It's a contradiction in terms, but that's the reason. And we get tons of these, but ultimately every influencer speaks to you like this, and you should buy this, and you should listen to this, but it's a long take. There are no cuts there. It's the way we are offered constantly stuff to buy that is trying to shape differently our attention span. So this is my take on it.
This is such a fascinating conversation. We could go up. I think I'm getting signs that your plane is about to take off. But let's see. Yeah, no, you can't walk in till I'm talking. Emma, do you have a quick take on that? You have to cut down your closing speech. We're here, right?
Just very quickly, I think to echo what Cameron was saying, if the work is compelling, then people will engage with it regardless of any sense of attention spans being shorter or longer than normal.
Well, listen, thank you very much. You've been a great audience.
Sir, Sekharji, I have my quick individual question which I was
No, I don't have time for questions.
Unless
you want him to, there's an Air India plane waiting there, waiting to take off. So let's say you can...
Small crisp?
No, I don't have
Sir,
time. I'm so sorry. Sit down. Right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Listen, you've been a great audience. Thank you very much. And thank you, Cameron.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Emma. And thank you very much. Thanks for everyone being here. Yeah. Thanks.